Welcome to Vegan Business Talk with Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, journalist, media coach and editor of veganbusinessmedia.com, which is a blog that provides success tips for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. Now, veganism is hot right now. We are in, we are cool, we are trendy, and I can't believe it. I never thought that I would see the day when veganism was splashed across the headlines in a really positive way and, put up on a pedestal instead of being ridiculed. So it's a very, very exciting time. And vegan business is a huge growth area. We're seeing it happening a lot, particularly in plant-based foods, but also in fashion and skincare. So I'm really excited to bring you this podcast. So each episode is going to feature an interview with a vegan business owner or entrepreneur from across the globe. And they're going to share their secrets of success, their challenges and how they overcame them, lessons learned, plus some practical tips as well as their story, because we all love a good story. Some of the interviews are ones that I did for my book, Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. I interviewed 65 owners of vegan-run businesses in the US, Canada, Australia and the UK. And the interviewees were incredibly generous in sharing their insights and their journey. Some of those quotes are featured in the book, and I'm really delighted to bring you some of the audio interviews in this podcast. And of course, I will be doing some brand new interviews specifically for Vegan Business Talk. And as I mentioned, they're going to be with business owners and entrepreneurs from all around the world. Now, as well as the interviews, each episode, I'm also going to give you a roundup of latest vegan business news. So to kick off episode 1, my guest is Sugandh Agrawal, founder of Gunas, a vegan handbag brand in New York. Gunas is known for being stylish and colourful, and it was featured last year in Fortune magazine, which is a high-profile business magazine, in an article on cruelty-free leather alternatives. I met Sugandh recently in New York at my book launch, and she's absolutely lovely. I really, really like her a lot, and I'm so happy to see the Gunas brand growing. One of the things that Sugandh talks about in this interview is the challenges that she faced in making her handbags affordable whilst also being high fashion and maintaining high ethical standards in the production. And I think that's something really that a lot of vegan product makers, creators and designers can relate to. And Sugandh came up with a very pretty enterprising solution, and you'll hear about that in this interview. So here's my first guest on Vegan Business Talk, Sugandh Agrawal from Gunas. What are your drivers for running a socially conscious business?
I think, Katrina, basically the reason why I started Gunas is because, obviously I feel compassionate towards animals and I love fashion. And initially when I went out shopping, all I could find was either Matt and Nat or Stella McCartney. And there was nothing in between. The price points were really, the extremes. And style-wise also, there was nothing that really filled that gap in the market. And I just felt that, if I want something like that, I'm sure there are many people out there that want a bag, that falls in that mid-category, but is high fashion, high style, and, does not compromise their values. So then I started the company and got a good feedback, and then ever since then we've been doing this.
Fantastic. It's so lovely. I love that, and I love that you said that you wanted something like that and it wasn't there, so you created it. I mean, that's very, very entrepreneurial. So thank you for that. I don't know if this next question applies to you, but some business owners have said to me that a lot of the time the price point of their products has to be higher simply because they're, quote, vegan or sustainable or organic. And it was difficult or they were constantly having the challenge of staying competitive and attracting clients. I'm not sure whether that does apply to you since you're already kind of playing in that kind of higher end field. Is it any kind of issue for you to stay competitive and attract clients?
That's definitely been a challenge. When I first started out, Katrina, the challenge was actually finding out the right fabrics and the materials that were good alternatives to leather. And this was, I really began researching my company and the whole idea behind it like 5 or 6 years ago. And back then, the materials were not that great. But now you get a whole variety of fabrics and materials, so that's been really great. Eventually, what happened was that production became an issue. To keep your prices down, you really need to have small-scale production because our market is so niche. There's no way I could use a Chinese factory or a large-scale factory to, produce 1,000 pieces and then have an inventory that I won't be able to sell. So my real big challenge in keeping the price point down was getting production, which was ethical, and at the same time, they would do short runs. Pricing has definitely been a concern of mine as well, because when we initially started out, our prices were even higher because I was manufacturing everything in New York City. And then people did not want to pay that price. I'm not sure if it's because of the economy or because it's of the mindset. A lot of people that are already vegan, they're easy to convince. But the new market, they always question that if it's not leather, why is it so expensive?
Right.
So yeah. That's like a very hard mentality that I've had to deal with, where people keep questioning the price point. But then I think once they understand the importance of ethical manufacturing and cruelty-free fabrics and materials, they kind of buy into the idea, and so that's been a little bit easier for me. But it's still something that I'm trying to resolve.
Right. Yes, I was curious because I noticed on your website you do very much educate your clients and potential customers about the importance and why. So that's great. And you've answered, I guess, some of those other questions. What were some of your key challenges when you first started out? So as you mentioned, it was materials and the manufacturing. So that's great. So you're obviously, when did you get to a point then, a kind of tipping point when you were able to bring the prices down from what you had at the beginning? Was it just because you started to build your brand and literally people started buying it more?
Yes, absolutely. Katrina, I do have a design background, and I have a sort of a business background also. So when I started out initially, you're still learning a little bit about how your customer is going to react. And so you just put out a raw product out there at its bare basics, and that turned out to be a pricey one. So people obviously wanted you to work it down a bit to make it more affordable. So I just worked from there, and then actually what happened was, I went down to China. I looked at the factories over there, and really the conditions are awful. I would never want to sell a product where, the people are really disconnected from the behind the scenes of how the product's made. So I really like connecting the two, the seams together. So when I saw the conditions in China, I just, I had to bring the prices down. So I worked 1 or 2 collections over there. And then I started searching for other alternatives where I could still keep the prices down and still have a factory that was ethical. It was, again, very challenging. So that's, I think, when I reached my tipping point, and I actually started my own studio in India. I have family down there too. So with the help of my family, I set up a small studio, and I started working with local women and artisans, and we started producing our bags there. So, so that really, helped push me and the brand in the right direction with the ethical manufacturing and vegan materials.
That's wonderful. What a lovely story, and how you've really gone out of your way to make that happen. I think that's a really lovely story, and I'm pretty sure you do media, and that's a great sort of hook for the media that you did go to that effort to set that up. So that's fantastic. What would you say, again, like sometimes nowadays there are kind of people say, well, there's extra demands on a business owner's time because as well as the sort of everyday workings of the business and the admin, the social media nowadays and everything, and sometimes that can feel quite overwhelming to small business owners. How do you cope with that, and what advice would you give to others in regards to that kind of overwhelm, particularly when they're first starting out?
Oh, that's such a great timing for that question, Katrina, because I just had a baby. She's only 4 months old.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. So when you're talking about, over demanding, I completely get that now. It's overwhelming, but I see a lot of times people actually start burning out because they're putting in 40, 60 hours a week, just really working this out. And they want to get successful really quickly. I understand that this is like a niche market and people really want to capture it before there are a lot of players that come into it. But I feel that it's such a new market. We still have time and we still have, plenty of stores to sell our bags to, plenty of other brands that can even still come in and make a difference. I feel like more the merrier and the louder you'll be heard. I really feel that, that's the way I work. I take one day at a time, and I really think that, because I'm going at a steady and a much maybe slower pace, maybe as compared to other brands, I feel like, that pace is helping me learn a lot more. And rectify the faults that I might be making with my company or with my brand, and really understand my target audience. So I feel like the more balanced your pace is, the better it is for this market. And that's really going to help you last longer in time as a brand.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I feel like that since this market is evolving and a lot more people are coming into it and realizing and becoming aware, especially the younger generation, I feel that I want to be seen as a veteran in this field. I want to be seen as one of the people that really thought about this when nobody was looking at it, and I stayed at a steady pace and I really evolved and I kept the brand going. And I introduced, when I first started out, I actually had a lot of men's bags. And then I introduced a lot of women's bags. And now I feel like I can introduce even a younger audience, bags for a younger audience. So it's really studying the market, going with the flow, taking it easy, and, obviously enjoying family life. I think that's the most important for me. I believe in my values. I believe in my, my thoughts and everything. But I think if I don't have my family with me, nothing would be more important. So definitely, I think balancing things out is, key. It's
a really great attitude. Yeah, it's a really lovely philosophy. I really like that. And you mentioned that you have a background in both design and in business. So I'm curious. It sounds to me like you're not just spending time working in your business, and getting the bags out. You actually spend a fair amount of your time working on it. So sort of strategizing and being, brainstorming, coming up with new ideas as you learn more. Is that what sort of percentage of the time do you reckon you spend more on your business than in it?
Katrina, I have an industrial design background. I'm an industrial designer, so I really think very logically and analytically. I enjoy design and I enjoy the process of it. So it's I don't know. I feel like I kind of even have that look in my bags that they're very structural or they're very functional at a certain point. So I don't know if I'm really answering your question here.
It's just to guess about what percentage of the time do you kind of stand back and do that big picture stuff rather than, how some business owners, they get very much caught up in the day-to-day of the business, fulfilling orders and doing the admin, and they don't always step back and go, okay, what's going on with my business? How can I do a joint venture? Or how can I strategize to grow the business? So I'm just curious how much of the time you spend working on your business versus right in it. Does that make sense?
Sure. So, I think, I think when you're a business owner and when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of have to change a lot of hats. And I land up doing everything from the designing to coordinating the manufacturing, sourcing, marketing and sales and social media. There's just so much that's there. So initially what I tried to do was do 4 to 5 collections every year. And then I think that, kind of made me rethink my whole strategy. And I just stopped and I, looked back at everything I'd done. And then I decided, I'm just going to do maybe 2 or maximum 3 collections a year. And then the rest of the time, I'm just going to spend on really strategizing, improving my production, improving my processes, and, all the systems that are in place. So I think that helps me really balance things out. So now it's like very 50-50. I do my collections half the time, and then half the time I'm spending on getting my, the warehousing streamlined, or the production and distribution, all that stuff taken care of.
Fantastic. And you mentioned obviously you've grown as a brand, and your website is amazing, by the way. It's very good. It looks really good. How do you stop and get people? It's that a fine balance between how do you get to get people to stop and take notice and go, oh wow, yeah, these are really cool bags, and take notice of your business. In a world where our attention is demanded from all kinds of sources, without feeling like you're harassing people. So it's getting them to say, hey, look at me, look at my brand, but at the same time, without kind of harassing them and doing that hard sell. I wonder if you had any tips on how you do that.
I think the most important with the philosophy behind my brand is being authentic. And I think that a lot of marketing that is thrown at the customers today is very pretentious. They're trying to portray an image of someone that people want to be rather than who they are. And I feel that with Gunas, what I have done is really try to portray an image of the person as they are, what they really want to be and what they really want to stand for, and what they want to show with the power of their purchase through, the products that they buy. So I think it's very important to stay real, stay authentic, and be honest with the customer. And I feel that people nowadays are looking for that honesty in the products that they're buying. So, there's no pretense. It's absolutely open. I, in fact, encourage people to ask me as much questions as, they have about the brand or the processes, the materials, and I'm always honest about it. I'll never claim that, my bag is perfect. It's unfortunate that right now we're not able to make that, perfect vegan bag, just because I feel that the materials could be a lot better, or, the construction could be a lot better, the production could be a lot better, but it's all evolving. And I feel that my customer in particular appreciates that honesty, and they like the marriage between that honesty and high fashion. And, when you think about it, people don't really associate high fashion with very honest.
I was just going to say that.
So I like, changing that about it. And I think that's the sticky factor of my brand.
Wonderful. And would that go in some ways to helping you to stand out even from other vegan or cruelty-free brands as well? Because as you said, there's more people coming into the marketplace within that particular arena, and I'm just wondered how you stay competitive even within that arena itself.
Well, sometimes, Katrina, I feel like there are a lot of clicks happening, even within the vegan industry, the fashion industry. And I feel that I want people to feel that I'm approachable. My brand is approachable. My products are approachable. And I feel that people, that are my target audience, they want that approachability, whether it's with the product or with the designer itself. So I think that's what really helps me stand out as a brand. A lot of the other brands, I think they could do so much better with the whole design and the image and the way they project themselves. Or some of them are doing a great job too. I'm not going to say that hey, I'm the best, but I think that that's what really sets me apart.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you, in terms of competitors, or in quotes competitors, a lot of the marketing gurus say nowadays that businesses should actually even stop thinking about having competitors and instead embrace them as collaborators. What are your thoughts on that? I've had mixed responses to date on that. Some people agree, some people kind of not so much. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that, and whether you've done any kind of...
I would absolutely love to do that. In fact, I would love to do it more because, like I said previously, that ours is such a niche market right now, and there's so much potential. And I personally feel that, the more brands that are there that are talking about vegan fashion, the more audience you're going to pull into this market. So, the louder our voice is going to be. So I don't feel, threatened in any way by having more competitors or having more people getting into this market. I feel like it's in a way going to strengthen what I am doing, because it's like a stronger effort going out there to, to reach people. So I've actually, when I started my studio, I actually reached out to a lot of other brands to do their production for them. So it was like a third-party labeling, because, let's say there's like a apparel designer and he or she wants to start handbags, and they don't really have that knowledge, but, they really have that desire. So I would reach out to them and, do short-run productions for them under their labels. But then that's, again, promoting the whole vegan idea, getting their bags out. It really does not matter to me if my brand name's not on there, honestly, because I feel like I'm already doing that with my brand. But I really want to help other designers capture this market too.
Oh, fantastic. That's really great to know. I think, that's marvellous. Wonderful, wonderful. Sugandh, I don't know whether you have staff already. I know you've got your factory, your studio in India and in York. How do you go about finding, and this may or may not be a relevant question, how do you go about finding and keeping experienced, motivated staff?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. In New York itself, it's a little bit easier to find interns or to find people that, are willing to work part-time. But I've had more success in just hiring agencies and outsourcing a lot more work, like my marketing or the sales or the web designing and PR and, things like that. I've just had more success outsourcing it rather than keeping in-house staff. So, I would definitely say that that's been a challenge.
Okay, right. Okay. So, and that's worked out. So have you done that because you found it more difficult to hire staff, or you prefer to outsource it so you don't have all the kind of admin stuff that goes along with hiring a member of staff?
Right. And I mean, it's a lot simpler too. And again, like, talking about balance of family life and work life, I think that just works better for me, because now that I have a baby, I can even just, work from my home office and just have everything outsourced, and it just kind of still works together, because since I love the digital world nowadays. Online sales have just made everything so much easier.
Yeah.
So that's really been fantastic. And I mean, you could do a couple of trade shows in the year to reach your boutique buyers, and then you could do everything else offline through your online store. So, I think for me, what's worked best is just hiring or outsourcing the services.
Outsourcing. Perfect. Okay. Just on to mindset. Now, a lot of business owners would say that running and owning a business, it's the fastest and most effective form of personal development, because it forces you to grow as a person. What qualities do you believe are essential to staying the course and running a successful vegan business, or any business, but obviously in this case, a vegan business?
I think just like any other field, it's always continuously educating yourself. And that's most important, staying on top of, what's happening in the industry, what's new in the industry, and just, the social media is great, and, just reading up on books and strengthening your facts. And so like when you're talking to people, you know exactly what you're saying. I think that's important. That's pretty much it.
What about any qualities about yourself, I guess, maybe around sort of, I don't know, things like, a couple of other people mentioned things like resilience and passion and a strong belief in what you're doing, that kind of thing. Does that resonate with you at all?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I was definitely passionate about what I'm doing, which is why I have stayed in this for as long as I have. If I didn't really strongly feel, about creating cruelty-free fashion, I don't think I would stay in it for this longer period. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I always wanted to do. I could never get myself to buy a leather bag. And, hopefully someday I'll have even vegan shoes that I can make and belts. So everything that I want, I'm making myself.
Fantastic. And you mentioned some of the steps or the strategies you take to ensure that you've got a strong mental and emotional well-being in business. I noticed you very much talked about having that family time and really getting that balance. Is there anything else that you do, such as, I don't know, meditation or coaching or self-help courses or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I actually follow Buddhism.
Nice.
So, that really brings me a lot of peace. I do meditate a lot too. And then a lot of times I think what really helps me is just getting away with my family, into the mountains or, being around nature and just reconnecting myself with, the Mother Earth. And that really helps me. So meditation's great. I love doing that. But I think just getting really out there into nature is what helps me the most.
Yeah, me too. It's so healing, isn't it? Especially when you're living in a city. It's such a difference. It's kind of like, you can feel yourself going, you can relax.
And suddenly, when you're out in nature, you just feel like, oh my God, what was I doing? I need to, in fact, just be living here. Why am I in New York City?
And then, of course, you get back to New York, you're like, oh, New York.
Home's home.
I know what you mean. It's nice to have a bit of both, I guess. I like a bit of both. That's fantastic. So I'm hearing that you're thinking that mind, in terms of, mindset and personal development, that kind of stuff is very important for business owners.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Fantastic. Sugandh, what would you say have been, in summary, the kind of the key lessons that you've learned through running your business to date? And that could be, things about yourself personally or professionally. What are the key things, if you could summarize those?
I definitely feel I've learned a lot about myself, and, just the importance of certain people or family in my life and just how to balance things out. I think that's the biggest thing that I've, learned, how to prioritize and how to, just take things as they come and how to deal with, since I'm an artist, I'm a designer at heart, and I've never been a people person. And I've always shied away from the camera or, interviews and things like that. And this has really pushed me, it's pushed my limits. It's helped me push my comfort zone. And I've been doing this now for, the last 5-6 years. And I feel so much better about it now. When, initially when I started out, I just wanted to hide behind my drawing board and, I would just be like, I just want to design bags. That's all I want to do. So, but it's so much different now. And I feel like, if you're a designer, it's so important to even talk about what you're doing and, explain it to people, because not everybody is a designer. Not everybody thinks artistically. So that's been, I think, one of my biggest discoveries about myself.
Wonderful. Well, I'm very glad you've done that and that you are happy to do interviews, because you're a very good interviewee. You're so relaxed, and, like you said, authentic and generous. So I'm very glad about that. So Sugandh, you mentioned that you have, over the years, you've used expert help to grow your business, such as marketing and PR and that kind of thing. So I'm presuming that's been a good outcome for you and successful, and you sort of did that from the beginning or close to the beginning?
Yes, how would I say that? Yeah, since I do have a design background, Katrina, I did all of my graphics and, the website design, everything I managed myself, and I would just work with a developer. I did work with PR companies initially to really get the word out to publications and, the media channels. But I just felt like that was such a trial and error, because a lot of times PR companies, they'll really market themselves to you, like they're going to take your brand to the next level and they're going to do so much for it. But then, you don't really, get that much attention, because they take on too many clients or, they have high monthly retainers. So I just felt that, self-marketing is probably the best. And if you actually have your product right, I think 50% of the startups fail because their product's not right. And if you really work on getting your product great and, people start appreciating your product, everything is just going to spread by, word of mouth. And now I think I've reached a point where I don't even work with a PR company anymore, and I just have people approach me themselves, like you did. You found me and you approached me for an interview. And I feel that's worked for me a lot better. So I just focus on getting my product and my quality right. I think that's the most important.
Right, got it. No, that's great. It's good advice there. In your opinion, for those who aspire to basically do what you do, not necessarily with handbags, but, to run their own business and their own, cruelty-free business, what, in your opinion, are the key things they need to take into account before making that jump from employment, the 9-to-5 kind of thing, to being self-employed? Because they are very, very different. What are the key things they should take into account?
I think the first thing is to really be very careful with your money. That's your gold, and you don't want to just give it away to anyone, any PR company or anyone else that's enticing you into using their services. I think be very judicious and very cautious on how you spend your money. That would be the most important. And then the second is, I would, if money is not an issue, then quit your job, start something on your own. But if it is, then definitely, stick to your job and give the extra time that you have to set up your company, work on it. Again, like I said, slow and steady is the best thing you can do. Don't try to rush through things ever, because you'll probably not make the right decisions or the right selections. So, I think that's most important. And really getting out there. There are a lot of social events. At least in New York City and the other bigger metros, there are a lot of events that happen, all the vegan and veg fests that are taking place, or a lot of talks are happening. There are a lot of local shelters, animal shelters that have fundraiser events and things like that. Go there, check it out, see who your target market is, who you're trying to sell to, and really learn about your customer before you introduce products and, put all your money into making bags or any accessories or clothing, whatever that may be.
That's really good advice. Very, very good advice. Thank you. Sugandh, what did you do, if you don't mind me asking, what did you do before you started this? Did you have a sort of a corporate job and then you saved up some of your own money to put it in or to start the business?
Yes, I did. I actually worked at KitchenAid, Whirlpool. I don't know if you're familiar with the kitchen appliances that they make, but it's a big American brand, Whirlpool, and I was one of their few product designers on site, and I also worked with Bosch and Siemens. I designed their kitchen appliances. I also worked with Victoria's Secret for a while, and I did their packaging. So it's very different. And then I kind of really got tired of my regular corporate job because these were all in smaller towns, and I'm such a big city person. And so I just decided to quit and actually move to New York for a master's degree in design management, which was all about sustainable design. And so while I was doing my thesis, I came up with this whole idea, and I put all my savings into my school, my master's program, and I had some more savings too. So during my thesis program, I came up with this whole idea that, this is what I really want to do. So might as well spend this 1 year planning out my business. It all started out there. I had a lot of help from my, teachers and peers, of course, who were also in the whole sustainable industry in New York City. And after that, I got a lot of help from my family too. So, starting a business, of course, it's either grants or loans, or you can get your friends and family to help you. So that's how I started.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Just in terms of then marketing and branding, in regards to the use of the word vegan in your marketing materials, and on your website, etc., and the prominence of the word, there's two schools of thought. One is that, the word vegan scares people away. You might be scaring potential customers away. And the other one is, no, it's actually clever niche marketing. And I'm curious what your thoughts on this, because I know you use the words cruelty-free and ethical and sustainable. What are your thoughts on the use of the word vegan? And your choice of whether or not you use it in your marketing and why?
That's funny that you bring that up, actually, because I have had very strange and weird reactions to the word vegan in my marketing. Some people just tell me, "What do you mean the bag does not eat meat?" Like, really? Really? What are you really asking me that? So it's been very strange. So I honestly feel that I think it's, in a way, I could even call them vegetarian bags, but I feel that when you say that they're vegan, and they really are, even the adhesives that they use are all animal free. So you're really trying to first reach that audience that strongly feels about it. If you see the vegan market here, those people really have strong opinions about, not using animal byproducts or animal products. And I feel that I have the same kind of strong feelings about it. So I have to, use the word vegan. And I also think that a lot of times people, think that when you say vegan, it's just a food. But it's not really food, it's also fashion. There's also, it goes along with, I always like to use this phrase that it's not just what about you put in your body, but it's also what you put on your body. So it's like a complete package. So I don't think that for me using the word vegan is just, clever marketing. I think it's really the foundation of my brand. If it wasn't for this thought that, provoked the whole idea of building Gunas, I don't think I would have even had the company.
Got it. Right. Thank you. You mentioned media earlier, and that people now come to you and you had the PR firm working for you in the beginning. Do you kind of sort of actively yourself, as you mentioned with self-marketing, do you use media as part of your own PR strategy in terms of whether you send out your own press release or you contact any media to get coverage? Is that something that you do yourself?
Absolutely. From time to time, I'll... the best and the easiest way is to just go to a magazine rack and pick up all the magazines where you would like to be featured or you think that your product is a good fit. And when you look at the second page, you have all the publisher and the editor details right out there. And you can always just call the publication house, get the email address of the person that's in charge of editing the various sections on fashion or veganism, and you just write to them. And a lot of times, they're really good about either getting back to you with a thank you note or a no thank you, maybe some other time. So at least you know what the feedback is, or, till you find the right fit for yourself. Besides press releases, a lot of times, I have extra pieces lying around. Maybe I'll just send them free samples so they can actually check out the quality in person. So, that will entice them to maybe write about me. That always works. Besides that, if I read an interesting article, then I'll just approach the writer, or if I see a blog that I really like, then I'll just email the blogger and say, hey, if you don't already know about my brand, maybe you should check it out and see if it's a good fit for your articles. So that always works.
Fantastic. And have you found that really useful then, getting exposed in the media to helping to build and grow your brand awareness so that more people know about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. What other current marketing strategies do you use nowadays, Sugandh, and which are most effective for you?
I think social media is big because now everybody wants to hear what other people's experience has been with a certain product or a certain brand. So I feel like social media is really huge. Twitter is great. Facebook's amazing. Google ads are great.
Just on Facebook again, how are you finding that? Because Facebook changed its algorithm for pages some time ago, so that only a small fraction of your fans and followers see your posts unless you pay to boost them. Have you found that impacted
That's been very challenging. I mean, I'm definitely very upset with Facebook for doing that, because a lot of time you have to pay to promote your posts, and it's just so unfair, because you're already working so hard to make something worthwhile for posting, and then on top of it you have to pay $20-$30 per post to really get it exposed. And but I think it's still important, because a lot of times, let's say somebody who's new to the brand, who doesn't really know, the first thing I feel that they'll do is get onto Facebook and see how many fans you have or what people are saying about you.
Right.
So, I think Facebook is one thing that it's like a double-edged sword. You really cannot get away from it, and, you have to stay on it.
Got it. So Facebook and Twitter are your key social media platforms that you're most active on and that have been successful for you?
Yes, and Instagram is also great. I feel like a lot of times people that buy their bags, they love to post selfies and things like that onto their Instagram. So that's been really nice too.
Fantastic. And final two questions are just around systems. So I noticed on your website you said people can sign up for your mailing list. When you send emails out to your list, what customer relationship management system do you use? So I don't know if it's MailChimp, Infusionsoft, Constant Contact, any of those?
Yeah, it's MailChimp. That's what I mainly use for all the newsletters. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what other technology tools or apps do you find most useful or essential in the course of running your business?
I think that now a lot of the shopping is being done on cell phones. So I feel that the next step for me, for the brand, is to really develop like a mobile app, so people can shop directly on their cell phones. I think that would be the most important thing for me to do next.
Great. That sounds like you've definitely got your finger on the pulse and know what's going on. I think that's very inspiring. Sugandh, it's been absolutely wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add? I know the questions have been kind of fairly extensive. Is there anything else you'd like to say that maybe we haven't covered that you just want to say? There's no obligation, but I always like to give people the opportunity to add anything else they might like to add.
I think we've pretty much covered everything, Katrina, but I think, I would just like to end it with, one thought that I have always when I think about, why am I doing this, or, how can I take this more forward? I feel like I am doing it for, the animals and, really becoming their voice. But in a way, I feel like I'm doing it for myself. It's very self-healing. So, you feel like you're doing something good, you're trying to make a difference, and you can really look at yourself at night in the mirror and say, yes, I have a purposeful life and something that I really love doing. So I feel like, any young designer that really wants to get into it should realize that, they're in the right direction, and it's really going to be a fulfilling thing.
So that was Sugandh Agrawal of Gunas. You can find out more about Gunas at gunasthebrand.com. And that link is in the show notes at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts. That's veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts, and then click on episode 1. Now for a roundup of the latest vegan business news. The Food Channel has identified veganism as a top 10 trend for 2016. In collaboration with a market research firm, they found that the demand for vegan options in restaurants is increasing. A new plant-based steak created using cell technology from sources that include pea protein, soy pectin and wheat gluten has been developed by Dutch scientists in association with the Pea Foundation and the Vegetarian Butcher. And apparently this new food product is said to resemble closely the texture of actual steak. So we're seeing quite a few developments in this area, and this is another one that sounds pretty exciting. America's first vegan butcher shop made the headlines recently. Mainstream media outlets, including the UK's Telegraph and Mashable, were intrigued by the concept. And it is quite interesting, that juxtaposition of the word vegan and butcher. It's a little bit weird. The herbivorous butcher opens this month in Minnesota in the US, and it will offer an array of plant-based meats and cheeses. And finally, I always love it when I hear about a vegan business expanding. Those kind of stories just make my heart sing. So I was really happy to hear that Cinnaholic, which is a vegan bakery that was featured on the ABC's hit TV show Shark Tank just over a year ago, are now about to open 25 locations across the US. That's pretty exciting stuff and a really great story to kick off the new year with. Now, to end this episode, I'm going to leave you with a quote. As we know, running our own businesses, it can be pretty intense. You're often having to take on several different roles, especially in the beginning when you're starting out. So I thought this quote by Henry David Thoreau was quite pertinent. He says, "Success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it." Thank you so much for tuning in to Vegan Business Talk. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave a review. I'm Katrina Fox, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode. Bye for now.